Good morning. Welcome to another episode of You Are Your Brand, where I am your host, Felicia Shakespeare. It is exciting and an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. And it's just a blessing. Somebody say it's just a blessing. It's a blessing to be here. So I hope you are feeling great on this beautiful Thursday. It's a great Thursday because while we have our life, our health, our strength, and we are here for another episode to make impact and to bring you information and knowledge and hopefully revelation on some things as it relates to personal brand development. I want to start off by thanking once again our founder, C.S. Bailey, and once again, just remind you, this is the first network created for purpose-driven women. And once again, we are tuning into not just this show, but all of the shows. I really want to point that out because it's going to actually tie into what I'm talking about today. You know, this is a collaborative effort for women to be inspired, to be encouraged, to be challenged, to grow, to develop. And I love the fact that I'm a part of this puzzle and a part of this process. So God bless you and thank you for tuning in. I want to start out by saying I gave y'all some homework. What was the homework? My homework was to tell someone about the show. I don't want to forget about that. So once again, please continue to spread the word about this show and all the other shows that you're tuning into. So today I want to focus on it's something particular. I know last week we were just talking about building our brand. You know, it's like been a whole series. When I say that, literally as in every week we're building up to something different, right? We, of course, first couple weeks, it was just the aspect of just a general introduction of what a brand is and why we are personal brands and how all of that parlays into our ultimate purpose, our ultimate development, and ultimately our assignment that we've been given to do while we are here. So when you think of your personal brand, once again, you're thinking about the fact that you are always representing something to someone. All right, write that down. You're always representing something to someone. And it goes back to the old adage, you know, of some of the athletes that say, you know, I don't want to be a role model. Guess what? You are a role model. You don't have a choice. So regardless of whether you want to acknowledge it or not, own it or not, develop it or not, guess what? You are purporting a message. And that's what your brand is. Your personal brand is the fact that you're giving off something, whether you're giving off excellence, where you're giving off the opposite of excellence, where you're giving off consistency, or the opposite of that, which is procrastination. I mean, it really is going to go either way. So it's almost like, you know, I never forget this message that I shared. It was called the inevitability. That's an interesting word. The inevitability of change. What does that mean? Change is inevitable. Change is happening whether you want it to happen or not. Change is inevitable. So just as it's inevitable that things are going to change, that life goes on, it's inevitable that you are purporting a brand and that you're building something. So the question is, what are you building? And as we were talking about the key principles last week, you know, about the soul work that goes into it, the aspect of the physicality, the mental piece, right? You're being built body, mind, and spirit on a daily basis by the choices that you're making, right? Are you choosing the things that are gonna be impactful for the long haul and be positively impactful? I'll say that positively impactful in the long haul as it relates to your assignment. So what is my assignment today? I love it because it's almost like God just dropped these nuggets as I go, as I prepare. But I love the fact that He's not limited to what my mind says we should talk about. That He'll always throw a twist in there and some turns. But what He gave me today was the result. You know, we're talking about building. I want to piggyback on what we were talking about last week of building a brand. But the aspect of He gave me the 5 principles critical to your personal brand, the 5 principles that are critical to your personal brand. So I want to first start off with, as I had, the first principle is collaboration. You can't build on your own. You can't build as an island. So once again, that's why I started off talking about even the aspect of the network and the vision is for women to come together. Just as I heard the story about, I was that woman, that felt like, you know what, I don't really get along with other women. They don't like me, or I'm always having a problem. You know what, I don't have to do all that. I don't have to deal with all that. Let me just go over here. Not to say it was something that I wanted, but it just seemed to be the narrative. So we are on here breaking those messages and of the barrier of women not being able to collaborate. Because at the end of the day, you are not an island. So that's the first thing I want to talk about. The one of the first principles of building your personal brand is the fact that we are in it together, and no one is an island. We're in it together. And I mean, in every sense of the word. I need you. You need me. I know some people feel like they got it all together, and they may look like they have it all together. But I promise you, even as I was thinking about, I always do a quote of the week. I try to do a quote of the week, as I share on Instagram or wherever in social media. The quote that I got this week was, "Still I rise." Because when I think about all of what's happening around, the world, when I think about what's happening even in my own personal life and my family, we have to make a decision to rise. But guess what? There are, we can't rise alone, right? We have to do this together. So there are multiple pieces to the puzzle, even as we think of ourselves as the body of Christ. We're not intended to be just a hand or just a nose or just the eyes. We all have a role to play in the process. So think of it like that. Think of it. Your role is so important to the process of God and to the process of your own life and assignment. But you cannot do it alone. Even when I think about the scripture about not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together. And of course, back in the day, all we talked about was in relation to going to church. But I was thinking of it even today about not forsaking to assemble, even on this network, right? Not forsaking to come together as a family. That's the problem in society now. I think so many, even through this pandemic, if you look at the rates of folks that have taken their lives, one of the main reasons has been, and I've heard over and over, is people feeling isolated and alone. So as big, who's ever been in a situation where you were in a room full of people, but you still felt like, man, I'm just, I'm not really, I'm still feeling like I'm by myself. But that's what we want to break. We want to break that cycle. So the first key principle is collaboration. You have to. So how do you break that cycle? You may ask, Felicia. You have to put yourself in a position, right, to collaborate. You have to continue to find, I would say, your tribe, your people. And I believe anyone that's tuning into this network right now, you are drawn to this network for a reason, because it's something about the messaging. It's something about the branding, the color, it's something that's drawing you. And ultimately, it's God that's drawing you, right? Because there's something that you need from someone on this network, so even when I think about, the first time I came across She Is Still Dope, it was just dope, right? She is still dope. Like, oh, that's so cool. I love that. I just felt like it was such an awesome, not tagline, but just the descriptor. She is still dope. I'm like, that's cool. It was just something about that drew me. And then what drew me further in was the fact that it was about purpose-driven women and women of faith. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. So as that happened to me, that's why you're here today, because there is a level of collaboration. So you may have to start out in a virtual sense collaborating, but then also there's going to be other components that you will grow into as you allow God to unfold your assignment, as you begin to continue to walk in your purpose, because He's not going to leave you alone. Number one, you're not alone because He said you're not alone. He said, I will never leave you. I will never forsake you. So even in the situations where you do feel, quote unquote, isolated or by yourself, just know you're never alone. But the first principle is collaboration. We're in it together. No one is an island. No one can do it alone. You don't want to do it by yourself. So make the efforts to get on out there and in there. Be a part of what's happening here. Be a part of the membership. She's practically giving away the founder is practically giving away the membership. It takes a little, to bring so much value. How often are we, even as a restaurant owner, people come in all the time. Like I had a customer come in this week. I was actually there Tuesday, and she was like, "Wow, these chicken wings are hot." It just kind of cracked me up. Good morning, and it just cracked me up because I was like, and I just said, okay. Number one, she has a choice. She walked in. And secondly, I began to, just share. I said, you know what, ma'am, I understand that. And then also, keep in mind, we've been in the pandemic, and guess what? They doubled the prices on us. So now, unfortunately, we kind of stood as long as we could. Now we have to implement some things as why we're in a business. We're not just giving food away. People are paying, and of course, ultimately, there's going to be some type of profit that needs to happen for us to continue to forge ahead and grow and develop. But, with that all said and done, there is a price, that has to be paid. You're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. That's part of the price. If you're that person, it wasn't easy for me. I know it might be hard to imagine now, but can you imagine? I used to have a fear of speaking, and I was a timid person. I know people say they're like, Felicia, I can't even believe that was you. When I always said I would be horrified, to speak. And it was amazing, and a lot of my first opportunities came through church, through the opportunity to be a part of this and be a part of that. And ultimately, as I shared last week, someone seeing something in me that I didn't even see in myself as a young woman, so even that is an important part of collaborating. You're going to unfold, number one, truths and things that will assist your growth and development. But guess what? Collaboration means we are in it together. Iron is sharpening iron. There's something that you have that someone's going to need. And it's not just about you receiving. And I think we got to get out of that mindset of just taking it and taking. But what am I giving? So the fact that you can, get a membership for such a low rate and get all of this, unprecedented knowledge, understanding, truths. That's just, it's phenomenal. We're gonna go down the street, and that's what I ultimately share with the customer. I say, you know what? I appreciate you sharing that with me about your concerns. But this is what it is. And she had to make a decision if she want to stay or leave. And that's what we have to decide. We have to decide how much we're willing to invest in order to grow. And we're willing to look. I spend $7 easily every time I go to Starbucks. Right? We go to Starbucks. Now I don't drink coffee, but I do drink hot chocolate and sometimes a lot of summer lemonade drinks. And I don't even flinch. But what it is about that, I like the product. It's just something I want. I don't even think twice. So once again, don't think twice about what it's going to take. Just go forward. Get in there. Get out of your comfort zone and get into a position where you're collaborating. The next principle I want to talk about is, once again, the principles critical to your personal brand. So collaboration. The second one will be confidence. Confidence. And sometimes we mistake, some people will mistake confidence for arrogance. And I do think they're two totally different things. It's nothing wrong to be confident. What is confident? I began thinking, I said, what is really the difference between confidence and arrogance? Well, confidence is really just having an assurance, right? You are assured. You just feel reassured, right? And we can be confident, when we are on the path to purpose. We should be confident and exude a certain level of confidence. Guess what? I believe in this. I believe in my assignment, and I believe it's going to bring value. And I believe, it's a form of belief. That's what confidence is. It's an assurance, and it's a form of belief. And so don't always take it negative when someone knows. Don't hate on people that know why they're called to do what they're called to do. I think that's a very, for lack of a better term, attractive trait to have. It's a blessing. It just brings me, it fuels me. It's nothing like seeing someone up, that's so assured, but yet, you know what? They're just like you. They're just like me. They have got to the place where they are so assured and reassured in the message that they're bringing in the service or the product, whatever it is, whatever they're called to do. I immediately think of now y'all know E.T. Eric Thomas. I mean, this man, if confidence was a picture, right? In my mind, because he has such a conviction, right, of why he's doing what he's doing each and every time. It's just like, bam, you just get blown away by the energy that this man is bringing to the table every single time. And he has nailed a brand. He clearly is who he is. He's not ashamed of it. He's not wavering. I mean, he's that, as they say, he's that dude, right? When you're in his presence, he's that guy, and he draws men and women. Because why? Because of the level of confidence that he has in his messaging. You believe it, and and of course he brings the what? He brings the receipts, as they say. He brings the details, and of course shares and teaches. The third critical principle, I believe, for building a personal brand is compassion. So we went from collaboration to confidence, now compassion. And that's, to me, on the other scope or spectrum. So what is really compassion? To me, that exudes the character of a person, right? When you can have compassion on someone, it's almost like, or in a situation, it's not just on a person. Sometimes it's just how you have to approach life and people and circumstances with compassion. What is that? That's a part of something that's developed in your character, right? It's a part of your heart. It's the posture. That's what I think of compassion. It's the posture of your heart. Even I think of like I said, I'm going to talk about the restaurant again. When I think of the restaurant, even I really believe, it's bigger than just being a restaurant. It is, because I know it is. Because why? I'm in a community. There are people, they count on us to be there. Or they're at this point, they're counting on us to be there. We're there. But I was just thinking, although it's not an easy feat, it's a bigger picture here. When we went into this business, my brother and I, the idea was we want to create a family-friendly environment. We wanted people to feel safe. We wanted people to feel comfortable when they came in there and receive. That's almost like church, right? And on the top of it, they get to, how even aligned is that? They get to break bread and eat. And of course, you want the food to be good. They're not coming back if that's not the case. That's a no-brainer. But I thought about the compassion, even as I was thinking about these principles, how that's critical. That's from the heart, even down to the fact that, we do things in the community to help, because, we can have a customer from one given scope. I mean, you can have a newscaster, a news anchor, a producer, and then you can have Billy from the block. It can be, and we literally have something on the menu that everybody can afford, or, and that's a whole array. But the point I'm making ultimately is the compassion in the bigger picture. Even I was thinking back to another example when I was there Tuesday. It was a full day. I guess this is just kind of going to help me with my messaging today. But how there was a gentleman you could tell he was inebriated and struggling. Earlier in the day, he was just kind of outside lingering, and one of the employees kind of shared, and I'm like, "We're not there." And I'm like, "How you doing today?" And I just began to, I said, "Are you okay? Is there anything we can do?" That's going beyond just, I'm standing behind the counter waiting for you to come in, but we have to go out, and I went out and because I'm in the community, and I went out and I just kind of checked on them. And this is how life works, how funny life works. You all know I'm not going to start calling all these names. Y'all know we had the food delivery service options now. And there's one particular one, and we had an order come in. It was a very huge, it was literally the highest ticketed item on the menu. Like, someone ordered it through the delivery services and another item. So that was a pretty big bill. It was towards the end of the evening, towards near closing. And then all of a sudden, we get a cancellation of the order. So of course I'm on the phone like, okay. And they're like, "Yes, Felicia, Miss Shakespeare, you are getting paid for this order. Don't worry." So I'm like, "We started this order. We processed this. It's done. How can, they canceled for whatever reason." And I had it sitting there. And at that moment, let me tell you what happened. At that moment, that same gentleman that I had spoke to earlier in the day, he kind of came in. He came in, and there was literally no one in the lobby. So what do we talk about as far as integrity? Doing the right things is the right thing to do when nobody's watching, just because you know it's the right thing to do. And this gentleman came in, literally stumbled in at the moment. I'm like, okay, hi, how are you? And he wanted to buy a soda. He had his dollar in his hand. And I'm like, how you feeling? You okay? Like I saw you earlier. And then the Lord began to just, he said, look, I saw that. He said, give him that minute. At first I was like, So I was like, well, I took the bag and I said, well, have you eaten? He said, no, I haven't eaten since 10:30 last night. And I was like, okay, I said, well, do you like crab legs? He was like, yes, ma'am, I do. And I said, okay. So I took the packaging, of course, back over to the area, and I was just, at first I said, well, maybe I'll just take this and split this with some of my staff or myself. And the Holy Spirit said, no, he is just as important. Give him the whole meal. And I was like, wow, in my spirit, I felt like, you know what? If it was good enough to be ordered, this man is here. He belongs to me. And I knew at the moment that it was almost like I was being tested, because when you're giving away a $70, $80 meal, come on now, even if it was paid for. But it was like, I just began to see, it was almost like God was just dealing with my heart. Like, you know what? Don't take away from it. Give him all of what this is. So how many want to be treated like that? You want God to show up and give you his very best, right? And we have to also show up and give others compassion in our very best. We're almost there, guys. Also, another principle I want to talk about is courage, right? Courage, another principle that's critical to your personal brand, courage. And what is courage? I thought of courage, once again, of course we know courageous, brave, strong, but I began to think of courage as you must go for it. You must, as a person, as an individual, once again, you gotta be confident. You gotta network. That's part of the collaborative process. You show compassion. And another way of thinking of compassion is treating others how you would want to be treated. And that's what I also took away from that situation. But courage, you must go for it. You must go for it. You can't be afraid to step out on the things that God has put in your heart to do. We all have those anxieties. We all have fears. We all have reservations. If someone told you they didn't, they're lying to you. I'm just being very honest. Even the most prolific speakers, 9 times out of 10, I hear them say, I always get nervous right before I go forward with the message or the talk or whatever, whether it's a corporate situation, whether it's a ministry situation. Because and I think also, they always talk about feel the fear, but there is just a level of emotion that just because we're human beings that comes with the packaging, right? We don't always feel it. We don't always feel like that. This is why, once again, we have to go to our belief system and our mindset. You will have confidence if you believe in something. What did I talk about earlier? The confidence comes from the belief. So even the courage comes from what? The belief system. And you just got to go for it. It is a form of bravery. It is a form of knowing, that, what, I'm just going to take this chance. I got to believe, because if I don't, who else will? If I don't believe, if I don't take the necessary steps, and guess what? If I don't move anyway, guess what? Nothing's going to happen. We have to have courage also, because while we have to pull off that card quite a bit, there's a lot of things that you're going to have to do that are what I call unorthodox. Because why? It's not always a blueprint. When you are creating a personal brand, you can write that down. There's not always going to be a blueprint of somebody that did it before. There's, and of course, ultimately, and I say that even in your family and in your circle, it's not that it's not been done before, but I do believe that sometimes we're put in a situation where we're just going to have to be courageous. Case in point, there are many people that talk about when it was time for them to make the leap into full-time entrepreneurship. That took a courageous soul, right? It takes courage and belief and all of that to step out and do something that you've never done. Believe something that you've never believed. Act on it. That is jumping and jumping in and going for it. So that's critical to personal brand development, because why? You're not going to always be like everybody else, and guess what? You weren't intended to be. That's why it's you, the person, in personal. We talked about that last week. What word is hiding in personal? Person, right? Your person, your personality, your traits. That is what God has given your blueprint. That's your blueprint, right? So you have to have the courage. And my last for today, my final critical principle, also with it started with a C, is consistency. Consistency, right? You must show up regardless. So write that down. You have to show up consistently and regardless, right? What does that mean? Regardless, no matter how I feel. I have this in mind. I have a goal in mind, number one, for myself. I know it's going to take work, me practicing. We know the old adage, practice makes perfect. That is so true. It's so basic. It's so cliche, but it's so true. The more you do something, back to my point I was sharing earlier, the more I begin to speak, the more I begin to put myself in uncomfortable situations, saying yes, saying yes when I could have said no, when it wasn't the best season, or in my mind, I didn't necessarily have all the skills and the tools. But guess what? Over time, practice made perfect, to the extent where I had the confidence, right? I had the confidence. The collaboration fell in place. People will call on you, and guess what? You're not going to even be able to be called on if you're not visible. There's another friend of mine. He's a brand expert out of the UK. He talks about, if you're not visible, you're invisible, right? That's one of his taglines. If you're not visible, you're really invisible, right? Because if they don't see you out there, and like I said, whatever that platform is, it may not be a TV, but it could be the radio. It may not be the radio. It could be, once again, in your community, what you're doing in your church, what you're doing on your job. Sometimes, it's not about being, some people try to call those particular students, what do they call them? I can't think of the term right now. But when they're always so ready, and they get up. Some people get upset with people like that are always volunteering and raising their hand and willing to be, put on the spot and give the answer. Don't hate those people. Don't hate on those people, right? You don't know why they're doing what they're doing. You don't know the reason behind it. And ultimately, it's the practice ground for them. Guess what? You can do the same thing. You can raise your hand. You can volunteer. There's opportunities to volunteer all the time. Even I think about when I wrote my book 5 years ago. Before I wrote the book, You Are Your Brand, I was a part of a book project, and it was called Shift On. And basically, I wrote a chapter, Be Bold, Be Resilient, Be Great, Be You. It was a collaborative project, speaking of collaboration. Why did I do that? Great thing. Great segue. Why did I collaborate and do that? Because I felt at the time, you know what? I don't want to be an island. I haven't written a book. Now, I did take a stab at writing. I call it a book lit. Y'all say book lit. In my mind, of course, now everything is a book on Amazon. It was like a 25-page. In my mind, I called it a book lit years ago based on an assignment that I was given. But long and short, I wanted to be a part of this project, and it literally fell in my lap. I got an email. What did I have to do? I had to be courageous. I had to act on it. I had to invest in it. I had to invest in myself. And ultimately, what was the motive behind it? The motivation was I was going to become a part of a group of people that are clearly like-minded. We've been chosen for this project, and we reached out and we returned and we bought into it. And I wanted to be a part of community That's ultimately what I'm saying. I wanted to be a part of community. I wanted to say, you know what? I know there's things I don't know about this process of being an author. I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn strategies on marketing. I'm going to learn how to just do certain things, the editing process, just all the components that go into being an author, which, guys, I'm telling you, if you ever want to be one, it is no joke. And of course, we'll talk about that another time. Having been an author, self-published and curating a project with women. But long and short, because I put myself in that position, what did I gain from that collaboration? To this very day, I'm in touch with some of the folks, particularly women from this project. They are in other cities, and they have went on to do some amazing things. And it's only been inspiring, and it has sharpened me. Where iron sharpens iron, right? What you do and how you put yourself in position in community will only better position you for what you're going to ultimately do. So consistency, you must show up in a way that you leave an imprint, right? Your consistency, we can always have a reason. I could have got online today and emails, I'm not feeling the best today, or this, that, and the other. But I have an obligation, and so I want to be consistently here. At the end of the day, life does happen, but we have to press, we have to push, we have to be consistent as we're building this brand, right? And it's all going to pay off at the end of the day. Everything that we're doing is a seed. You got to look at it like that. You are building, you are planting, and it's going to grow as you water, right? As you water it, as you're consistent with that plant. You can't just plant a plant and go leave it go come in May and plant a plant, or in April, and then don't come back to August. That plant's gonna be dead. Isn't it gonna be dead? You didn't come and water it. You didn't come and give it any fertilizer. You didn't come see about it. Same thing. First natural, then spiritual. You have to plant. You have to be watered. And be what that parlays into consistency. Show up every day for that plant, right? How you doing? And I love my mom. She is such a homemaker and has such a green thumb, but it's like every time she planted something, y'all gonna laugh at me. It blossoms, and it just flourishes. I planted things because of not being consistent at those times. Thank the Lord that has all changed a little bit. But I've seen plants just die on me. It wasn't the plant's fault. I wasn't consistent. I didn't show up. I didn't care for it. I didn't nurture it. So as we close today, just know, A, it's going to take collaboration. Number 1. 2, confidence. 3, compassion. 4, courage. 5, consistency. As you continue to build and develop the personal brand that God has given you, the imprint, the message, the assignment, whatever terminology you want to use. So thank you so much again for being here for You Are Your Brand, where I'm your host, Felicia Shakespeare. Once again, you can follow me on social media at Felicia Shakespeare is my handle on Instagram, at Felicia Shakespeare. And also, I have a Facebook page if you want to follow me there. Additionally, I want you to tune in every single Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we are providing resources, tools for career professionals, entrepreneurs, women of faith, whatever category you fall. You may fall in all 3, but we want it to help you continue to grow and develop in the areas that count, and that's what building from the inside out. That's your foundation, and really, you're going to always bring yourself to everything you're doing, every project, every assignment, every business endeavor. So thank you again for tuning in this week. Once again, tell a friend. I'm giving this homework assignment again. Tell a friend to tune in, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. And until next time, blessings and peace.